Okay, welcome back. We are going to start talking about what makes a good narrative, something to set you up for writing your story and how it should look. So we're going to start with what makes a good narrative. Well, the most important things that people remember about a good movie or about a good game, yeah, it might be the gameplay. If you're talking about a game, it might be some action sequences if you're talking about a movie. But what brings people back over and over again to certain series, like all the MCU movies, is the characters. Right, we really remember the characters and what they go through. So we always begin with character, but they are put in a specific kind of story structure so that they can change and grow and show us stuff and show us adventures. Now there are four elements of designing a good game story. Okay, one is called immersion. Okay, this is how well we're drawn into the story itself. And this is by use of details like sight and sound and smells and textures and all that kind of stuff. So if you've ever been in a game where you look up and you kind of have forgotten what century you're in, they've done a really good job of creating immersion and getting us involved in the story world. Okay, so this is all about story world. The second thing is identification, and this is how well we connect with the main character. This is all about what is it in them that makes them seem like us. So really great characters are flawed. There's something that they have to discover about themselves, not if they're an orphan who their parents are, but where do they get the strength to go up against real true evil. Okay, that would be one thing to do. One of the great questions for narrative people is, who's a better character, Batman or Superman? Okay, I'm sure you got your own ideas. Most people would say Batman because he's flawed and human, whereas Superman, his only problem is kryptonite, and like, who cares? Right, so we identify more with Batman than we do with Superman. So that's identification. And characters should have an arc. And that means starting in one space and being unsure and then coming into their own, being a really good character. The third thing we look at is reward. And this is both for player and character. Now, how many of you have started a game, you got to the end and you really wish you hadn't spent those 40 hours playing it because the reward was so terrible. It was so awful. In old Mario Brothers, Princess Peach, for rescuing Princess Peach, you get a pie. Like, big deal, right? So it has to be rewarding for both the character and for us. Nothing worse than realizing that this is boring and there's no real good story and rage quitting because we got better lives, better things to do with our lives, right? And then the fourth thing is interactivity. And this is purely for games. All the rest of this stuff can be for any story. This is for games. How much does the player have control of? Okay, so these are the elements that make for a good game story. Now, there are different ways of structuring a story, all right? And the two models that we use are Aristotle and Hero's Journey. And let me go over to another screen and I'll show you what those two look like. So this is over in the resource section, class materials, down here. This is the Aristotelian model. Aristotle, ancient Greek, and he looked at how stories are put together and kind of came up with this model. It's been used and adapted over the centuries. Screenwriters use this all the time. And novelists and anybody who writes a story tends to fall back on Aristotle. And you're going to be using it to create your story too, at least at the beginning. So the elements are the ordinary world, right? Who is our main character? What's the world they live in? Setting that stuff up. An inciting incident is something that happens that changes the main character's life so much that they can't go back. The aliens land, right? Things like that. Rising action, and they have a problem they have to solve, right? There may be a villain they have to conquer. They may just be a personal problem they've got to deal with. It can be a variety of things, but there's something that they're going to have to deal with. Rising actions, complications, and obstacles. as your main character is trying to solve the problem, these are the things that get in their way. It can be people, it can be events, a lot of stuff. Climax on this story is not the most exciting action, but it's the moment when the main character realizes how to solve the problem. Right? Luke Skywalker figures out he's got to shoot that thing into the Death Star. That's the only way they're going to take care of it. But they're all sitting around talking about it at that point, right? But that's the moment that they realize how to solve the problem. Falling action is what happens after that, and it doesn't mean boring or dull. In the original first Star Wars movie, A New Hope, the falling action is actually the attack on the Death Star. So a lot's happening. Resolution, they blow up the Death Star. It's, what ends the story, and denouement is sort of anything that comes after. Like in A New Hope, what comes after is the awards medal ceremony, okay? So this is the Aristotelian model. It's, everybody uses it. You can't look at a story without being able to break it down into this, because you will. Now the other model that we use is this TED Talk, is the hero's journey. Now I'm not going to play this because it's only 3 minutes, but I want you to take a look at it. It's animated, and it really goes into what hero's journey is all about and how it connects to us personally. But this is the hero's journey model. Joseph Campbell was a mythologist. He studied myth around the world, and he sort of realized after gathering a lot of myths that every culture has got its own hero's journey story, has its own hero that comes to the rescue of that culture. And it's couched in a whole lot of different ways. But these are the elements of the hero's journey story. Most video games will take this part right here, natural environment, and that's almost sacred. Every video game, almost every video game, and a lot of stories, whether they're novels or movies, also go through at least this first part. So here on this natural environment, we can connect it to exposition, ordinary world. Call to action is the inciting incident. Now, in a hero's journey story, the hero will not want to go on that journey. It's like, no, I can't do this. Not me. Get somebody else to do it. I'm not strong enough, smart enough, brave enough, whatever. And then they meet a mentor who's a teacher. If you go to archetypes and look up archetypes of mentor, mentor is a teacher. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Gandalf, okay, a teacher. And the teacher shows them stuff and often dies right about this point, but not always. And so our main character, our hero, decides, okay, I may not be completely prepared, but I really need to go on this journey. And so they cross the threshold from their ordinary world into this world, okay, the extraordinary world. Now the rest of this stuff is all kind of optional, but they, trials and failures, meeting allies for success, stepping up to the final challenge. And then at the end, they go back to their ordinary world, and they bring back what they call bringing back the elixir. They are able to solve the problem. And the interesting thing about a lot of heroes and heroes' journeys is that the journey that they go on down here is so difficult, and they learn so much about themselves, and they have changed so much by the time they get back to their ordinary world that there's no real place for them. If you think about Frodo Baggins, he goes off with the elves because he just doesn't fit in the Shire any longer. Right? He's sort of moved beyond it. He can't live his life the way he used to. So that's the hero's journey model. Okay, so those are the things that you need to think about when we're doing this stuff. So what you're going to do for this week is you're going to get through this part of the story. You're going to come up with a game story, a character, and give us a little structure, model structure. Now, let me show you how we're going to do that. I have to go over to... Oh, while I'm here, let me show you what these things look like. Well, this is a doc. I'll come back to it in a minute. If we go back over here, and here's our weekly schedule. All right, which I'm going to have to open up. Here it is. All right, so this is what you're doing for this week. First thing I want you to do is go play a Choice of Games game. and then click on this Padlet and leave a little report about what it was like to play an interactive fiction game. Okay, so that's first. And there's your link for it. Put your name on it and comment on each other's stuff, and you can say, yes, that's cool. That's fine with that. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to write a story. You're going to go look at the Aristotelian model again and watch this little video, because it will explain Hero's Journey much better. And now you're going to create your own character for the game story you're going to write. Right. It's based on this exercise, and this is a link to it. But there's more there, but this is what you're going to be doing. You're going to have like 3 categories. An ordinary profession. You're looking for a main character who is sort of ordinary, right? You're not looking for, no sorcerer's apprentice or time-traveling Daleks, okay? You want just normal, everyday people, bus drivers and teachers and baseball players and, just everyday people. So you're going to come up with 10 of those. Who might your game story character be like in a sort of a normal world with a normal life? Second thing is you're going to come up with 10 character archetypes. And archetypes are just things that we recognize without anybody explaining to it, like the mentor character. All I had to do was say Gandalf and Yoda, and you know what a mentor is. So there's a whole bunch of them. So Google character archetypes and pick some you think might be interesting to connect to your main character, right? And then come up with extraordinary situations, some extraordinary situations that they might be faced with. So now you got a bunch of, what you can do is you put these on stickies or bullet points or Post-its or whatever. So now you've got a bunch of them. So you shuffle them around and you see what's going to work and think about the issue you want to address in your game. And now tell us the story, okay? Paragraph or 2, use Aristotle, right? Let us see who your main character is by setting up their ordinary world, which works for both Aristotle and Hero's Journey. And then give us an Aristotelian breakdown of your story, okay? What's the inciting incident? Is there a hero's journey call to adventure? What are the obstacles? Where does your main character figure out the end? And what is the resolution? And at the end, tell us how this character has changed through this journey, what they've learned about themselves, what they might do differently with their lives now. And remember, this is the basis for your IF story. So have fun, but think about it, and then post it into Open Lab. Right. So this is just a short couple of paragraph version of the story that you want to tell. And if you go back and look at these, let's see if I can get this to open up. Here it is this is from the book called Slay Your Dragon that we use in 1102. This will explain it a little bit more. Don't do number 1, only do number 2. Okay? These are character creation cards, but this will give you more idea of how to do this particular thing. Now, what do I do with the assignment sheet? I don't know. Let's see. There we go. All right, so that's the first. Those 2 things, those are both due on Friday. The choice of games, which is fun and silly, and then this one that you're going to have to think about. These are due on Friday. Then by Sunday, I want you to make a pitch document. Okay, and this is what's in the pitch document. What's your issue? What do you want to teach your audience? What do you want them to know about? And go back. I mean, you've already done the Aristotelian version of your game, but go back and make sure it's there. And I'll look at them on Thursday and Friday just to be sure you've done it right. And all that stuff. And then anything you might be worried about, any images that are in your head that you think might explain things a little bit more. Those are always good to have for this. Okay, so that's on your weekly assignments. And now, just to show you what these things look like, I'm going back over here. I'm going to run out of time. I don't want to keep doing this forever. Okay, so here are the assignment pages again. Here's a link to choiceofgames.com. There's the Aristotelian model. Here's the hero's journey. And then these are some examples of the things you're going to be making. You're going to be doing that visual concept map, like the tree for your game, and you're going to be creating the text. Now, these are some examples, but this is one I want to show you specifically. Let me get it to open up here. Oops. This is from one of our classes a couple years ago. And you don't have to do all of this stuff. But this is what it looks like to write this game. Right, now this was a whole group. They had several weeks to do it. So you're going to do a cut down version of it. But this is what this is sort of their walkthrough, what we call a walkthrough. But this is what it looks like. This is how to write it. Okay. This is what it's going to look like on paper once you get your thing written. But we'll go back into that again in another week or so. But just to give you an idea of what it looks like. Okay. They've also got, there's their visual map. Okay, their concept map. So you can see what they're supposed to be doing. So each one of these has got something going on back up in the descriptions. Right. There's that one. These are some other ones, some game design documents, which is a pitch document that other classes have done in the past. This one has got this short little thing on a walkthrough. This will show you what this stuff looks like on paper. You don't have to do all this explanation when you write it, but it's a good thing to have because it creates the walkthrough. And then this is theirs, and you can see how simple theirs was actually. And that's fine. You don't have to do a whole lot of branches. And again, we'll talk about those next week. Okay, so that's Cinderella, and there's several of these in here. So take a look at them, and it'll give you some ideas about them. But this is what you're supposed to look at. So that's your assignment for the week, is to, if I can go back, if I can find it again, which I close it down. But your assignments for the week are to do the, go play a game. Okay, here's your weekly schedule. So you're going to go play a game and post onto the Padlet your experience of playing a choice of text adventure game, interactive fiction game. You're going to write a story, create a really good character, and write a story about that character. And then as soon as you get this posted, I'm going to keep a really close eye on these things and give you feedback as fast as I can. And then for Sunday, you'll write a pitch document for your whole game. And then you can get started working. All right? So that's it. That's enough. I've talked long enough. Running out of time. If you want to come to the optional class on Tuesday, please feel free. We might play some 80 Days or play some Lost Pig. And I will see you then. Bye.